It's time now for Carter's Corner. Everything Bay Area sports on the Northern California Sports and Entertainment Network. Here is your host, Carter Kim.
We back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Carter's Corner. I am Carter Kim here on Northern Lights Sports and Entertainment, here to talk to you about all things Bay Area sports, whether it's Golden State Warriors, the San Francisco Giants, San Francisco 49ers, who are horrible right now. And yeah, I'm here. I am here. Just here to talk to you about whatever. But one thing I want to talk about today is the San Francisco 49ers being the most flat team in football. Listen, I know Rams fans are talking trash and saying like, oh, Brock Purdy has a noodle arm. Brock Purdy's this. He wasn't just him. Okay, I'm willing to bet Matthew Stafford had a game like this for you once. I'm just going to say this for the record about all of the teams that are talking trash on the 49ers. They're not wrong. They're completely correct. Happy Monday, Barry. Good to see you. But yeah, we're not good. We're just not good. Like, I'm keeping it real about the 49ers. We're not a good team. We are a terrible team. We have no defense, despite the fact that we have some of the best stars in the game. Brandon Ayuk is not going to play for the rest of this season, which is crazy. And yeah, honestly, I don't even want to make the playoffs. Like right now, I don't feel like we deserve it because we are terrible. Unless some miraculous turnaround happens these next few weeks, I don't think we deserve it. Not for 1 second. I don't think we deserve it for 1 second. Like, there is no part of me that says, you know what? You know who deserves to make it to the championship game to play football in January? The 49ers. We don't. We're not a good team right now, and we're not good enough to play with the big dogs like the Lions, like the Packers, like even a couple other teams. And to be clear, the Seahawks, even though I don't like their team, they deserve it more. They've been playing better. Yes, they have flaws, but we have flaws that are deep-seated and bad. Our red zone offense isn't good. That's the biggest thing. Yes, Christian McCaffrey is a big part of that. So are a dozen other injuries, but we should not be playing this badly despite an injury. One injury can affect a team, yes. We saw that in the NFC Championship game a few years ago versus the Eagles. But the reality is we should be able to perform. But we're not good enough. Simply put, we're not good enough. I do not want to see this team be taken seriously or on national television until we are actually playing good football. And I do not want to see Nick Sorensen continuously hired as the defensive coordinator for this team. He has not done a good job. He took one of the best defenses last year and turned it into a damn Toyota Prius. Sorry, I'm not sure if that's the right Prius. Yeah, Toyota Prius. Sorry. But that's basically what they've turned it into. When you are done with the Niners, are we going to go have a post-LCS therapy? Yeah, I will. But yeah, Johnny, just let me get to that. But anyway, the 49ers, just so bad. Not good enough. And until we do better, I am looking for moral victories this year. But then to go on, this team will be playing in the next three days. And that's going to be cool. The Golden State Warriors are back. We look really good right now. We looked good in preseason. So I'm really hoping that this team can do a good one this year because this might be our last chance with the current core that we have. And I'm honestly happy to be here with that team, but I think it's going to be a good year. Steph's going to usually do what he does, but we'll see. But as for what Johnny said, the Mets, man, like, how do I say this? The New York Mets had a fantastic year. They made baseball proud, in my opinion. They really came back out of nowhere and played fantastic, and I give them all the credit for it. But you missed opportunities. And I think in future years, when Mets fans look back at this season and enjoy it and like think about how great it was, there is going to be a moment, in my opinion, of sickening rumination for Mets fans of what could have been. Because they could have been something, in my opinion. The Mets could really have been something. If they had beaten the Dodgers, they could have been considered one of the miracle teams that has ever played. You let it go. And now there's questions about next year. Is Manaea going to stay? What's Severino going to do? Are they going to keep Iglesias, or are they going to bring up Acuna? Is there going to be a room in the outfield for other players if Starling Marte leaves? Or if he retires, what's the plan? I mean, this year was a great year for the Mets, but it wasn't good enough. It's all over for them now. And it's not, and I'm going to say this to Mets fans, listen, it's not like this was a bad year. You had no expectations, and then you had them exceeded heavily. But you had a chance to go to the World Series, and you have to capitalize on your chances. Yeah, even last night, the Mets had so many chances to win. Yeah, they had the bases loaded multiple times. They were only down by like 3 runs. The Dodgers pitching staff was ailing at times. And you just let it go. I'm going to say this to the Mets fans out there. I think you made baseball truly proud with Grimace, with Oh My God, with Iglesias, and all these other great players, these great stories. But the truth is, you're going to look back at this season and you're going to think what could have been. That's going to be your first thought. You're going to, okay, actually, no, it's not going to be your first thought. You're going to think about all the good times this season. You're going to think about the Grimace jokes. You're going to think about the Oh My God from Jose Iglesias. You're going to be thinking about, the stories with Francisco Lindor, along with the stories of Mark Vientos, other great players having a resurgence and playing great. But then, after all those good moments, reliving that grand slam versus Philly, reliving that Alonso home run versus Milwaukee, reliving all these moments, there's going to be a moment that you have after all of that. And you're going to think to yourself, what if we had actually done it? That's going to be their thought. And it's going to be a sickening, and I really mean it when I say this, this is going to be a sickening rumination for Mets fans of what could have been. Because what could have been fantastic. Like, yeah. How does Starling Marte go 4 for 5 with 3 doubles the day before 0 for 5? I mean, some things just don't go your way. Like, Marte had played so well. I really mean this. Marte had a great season, but yeah, you can't do that in these moments. You can't do that in these moments. There are moments where you just cannot let these things get away from you. And he let it get away from him. Bottom line, he let it get away from him. And the Mets let it get away from them. Honestly, Sean Manaea, I don't know what the hell happened to you, man. You suddenly turned into a meatball chef in the first inning after you go up 1-0. Not acceptable, in my opinion. Just not acceptable. But the Mets do have a future, and they have possibility of what could be, but it's not good enough. Nimmo also went 0 for 5 last night with Cade with the bases loaded. Yeah, I remember looking at that moment on the ESPN like dots. Like, you can't let that moment slip away, especially against a righty. The moment passed, like you had the opportunity to take the game and get into good position. You don't even have to get ahead right there. You don't even have to run up the score and beat them in that inning. You just have to make it close. And at the end of the day, the Mets didn't make it close. Again, every Mets fan will look back on this season. The first thing they're going to think is, oh yeah, we had a great season. We won, we played great. You're going to be thinking like, oh yeah, this is a great season that I'll remember for a long time because it had so many awesome moments. The Pete Alonso homer, the grand slam from Francisco Lindor versus the Phillies. All these great moments. You're going to remember those moments so fondly. The moments that Sean Manaea had, the moments that all these players had. But then, after all of those thoughts, you're going to be thinking, what if we could have gone to the World Series? It's like Johnny said, totally. It was so frustrating. I mean, and then after you think of what could have been, you're going to be thinking about, oh yeah, what if we had actually hit with the bases loaded? What if we had had a couple moments during that one game or that other game where we beat them? They're going to be thinking about that. And then there's going to come a moment where they realize that they had an opportunity, the best opportunity they've had in so long, and they lost it. And I'm going to say this, though, to the Mets. Everyone, you had been so bad for so long. The Mets, it had been so few and far between years people thought you were going to actually do something. Everyone counted you out. No one said that you were good. And you came together and played like Titans. I will give you all the respect in the world for that, Mets. But at the end of the day, is going to be another season where we look back at that Mets team and think, could you have done a little better? Like, for example, when you lost to the Royals a few years ago, when you lost to us in the wild card a few years after that, or the year after that Royals World Series, you're going to be thinking about that. And you're going to think to yourself, could we have done one or two things differently? If you had, then maybe we'd be talking differently. I might be praising the Mets right now for moving on to the NLCS, to the World Series. But yeah. Got to close the deal. They had so many chances. Same with the Padres. I mean, the Padres and the Mets, I think with the Padres, it's a little different because their expectations were much higher. And we didn't see them necessarily as the biggest feel-good story, but we saw them as a story to be admired. But with the Mets, it's like we kind of look at them more with pity. With the Padres, we look at them and say, what the hell were you doing? Yeah, a lot of people also say that about the Mets. But with the Mets, you look at them and say, it's too bad. More with the Padres, we're like, what the hell are you doing? How the hell did you let that opportunity slip away from you? Because I think the Mets fans are going to be asking themselves, like, should we have even beaten Philly? Or was that a fluke? Like, I think that's something they're going to be asking themselves for a long time. Like, should we have been the ones to beat Philly? Or was that a fluke series? Should we have won? Or should the Phillies have won and gone on to beat the Dodgers? That's going to be a thought they have. They're going to think, maybe we should have done something differently. Maybe things should have gone a different way. Maybe we shouldn't have been there in the first place. That is going to be their first thought. Could something have gone differently? Could we have been in a different position? Because this year wasn't supposed to be like this. They were supposed to punt to 2025. They were supposed to get rid of guys like Alonso. They were supposed to get rid of Manaea and Manaea and Severino and all these other guys that they had gotten in the offseason. JD Martinez even. They were supposed to give them out as rentals at the trade deadline. Now you wonder what the heck their plan is next year. Do they bring up the young guys as the plan is? Do they just, do nothing and just try again? Because at the end of the day, you have to figure out what you're doing. You have an opportunity with a lot of young players, and there is ability to be great. But the Mets, you're going to look back on this season and think, we could have had it. And maybe someday I'll be thinking the other thing. I'll be saying, oh yeah, you know what? The Mets, they won the World Series with all their young guns, with Acuna, with a bunch of other guys like Vientos and other players like that. We might be saying that in a few years, but until then, there's going to be just so many like campfire stories and so many days in the retirement home where we like sit around the table and say, how the heck did the Mets not do it? Because that was a story that people admired. Instead, we have one of the worst World Series matchups in an age. We have a matchup of Titans and nothing else. Yeah. Instead, they eliminated the Phillies. That would have beat the Dodgers. Thanks a lot for nothing, Mets. Yeah. Obviously, we're all joking about that. I do think the Phillies would have beaten the Dodgers, but it's like, I felt like with the Mets, like, okay, if you beat the Phillies, maybe you can beat the Dodgers. Why not? But you let it slip, man. Yeah. I do feel bad right now for the Mets because they deserve it. Their fans deserve it. Their players deserve it. And now they're going to be wondering this offseason, like, where's Pete going to go? Is Manaea going to stay? Is Severino going to stay? Is there a plan for the younger players who might come up? Are they going to come up at all? Are they going to sign someone expensive? Is Soto going to come here? Is he going to stay with the Yankees? There's uncertainty for the Mets heading into this offseason. They may think that there's a plan, but they're not entirely sure yet. Because best laid plans always go awry. But yeah, for the Mets, I feel bad. Because this could have been your time. You could have shown everybody in the world, like, yo, we're here to stay. But yeah, you really will wonder in a few years, like, what could have been. Carter, can you find how many runners in scoring position were left on for the Mets this series? I'm going to do that right now, actually. Why not? Because there's nothing else. I really have nothing else to discuss. Let me just get the box scores for the games they lost. They didn't lose on Friday. To be fair, a lot of their games were blowouts, so I'm not going to be too pissed off at a lot of their games, but it's like, okay. Let's specifically talk about yesterday. Yesterday, they left 13 men on base. Yesterday, they left 13 men on base. That's yesterday. All right. In game 3, sorry. In game 3, they left 10 runners on base. Game 3, they left 10 runners on base. Game 4, they left 12 runners. Oh, no, sorry, not 12 runners. I think I might be reading this wrong. 13 runners left on base yesterday in game 6. In game 4, they left 12 runners on base. In game 3, they left 8 runners on base. I feel like even just a few productive outs could have changed the outcome. That's why it's so frustrating. Yeah. Even if they just had a few more productive outs, like a sac fly or just some random plays where they had things go their way and made the right decisions, maybe they could have done it. But they just couldn't hit with runners in scoring position. They were really bad in that regard. And honestly, like, that's what Mets fans are going to be thinking about this offseason. What if we hit a little bit better versus the Dodgers? They might be thinking, you know what? We might get Juan Soto this offseason because he wants to come to a winner. But that's going to be the thought that they have. Like, I think that's one thing that's going to stick in Mets fans' minds in particular. Did we deserve to be here? Did we deserve to be playing in the NLCS? Did we deserve to be here? I think they did. I really think the Mets did. They had a great season and they played their hearts out at the end, but it wasn't enough. They were this close to greatness and they just let it slip. It's like the A's back in the Moneyball days, back with Jason Giambi, Johnny Damon, and all those guys. They always get this close. They get elimination games or like very close games and they let it slip. That's all. But hold on. Let me just fix something in the background. But that will be the story of the New York Mets this year. Honestly, I do want to say this. Hold your heads up high, Mets. Like, yeah, I hate Blake trying. Dude just look like a soulless vampire, but his sweeper dominated the Mets last night. Yeah. He's one of the most disgusting pitchers on the planet, and it's so difficult to beat him. Hold on, let me just I have like a But seriously though, like, yeah, that dude's nasty. He's got great stuff. Like, he's got some of the best stuff on the planet. I've never seen a guy with so much control over his pitches. It's a disgusting feat. But I just want to say that to the Mets, like, you guys should be proud. I really mean that. The Mets should be proud of what they did. But at the end of the day, you let it get away from you. The opportunity was right in front of you for the most incredible season in baseball history, and you let it get away. It's not your fault. Like, I'm keeping it real. It's not your fault. Like, you could have done so much worse. You could have traded at the deadline and said, you know what? Like, who cares? But you decided to take a risk, and it was worth it. Honestly, the Mets should be proud of their season in a lot of ways because no one expected them to be here. But you got to make the most of your chances because this was the biggest chance they had in so long, and you let it slip. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? That's all I'm going to say. A lot of teams let it slip. But for a team like the Mets, after the season they had, all the tough times they had, everything that went their way and didn't go their way, all the struggles they had early in the year, the crazy runs they had at the All-Star before the All-Star break and after the All-Star break. Yeah. Yeah, but at the end of the day, people don't remember NLDS runner-ups. They only remember champions. Yeah. I mean, I think all of us, I think honestly, this season was so impressive from the Mets that we may just remember them. But the history, the right to write yourself into history of baseball and to decide what is said about the history of baseball, it goes to the winner. Hey, Morkatna, good to see you. Welcome to the show. But yeah, just the Mets, man. Like, you let it get away from you. Like, this is opportunity. And I say this again and again and again. Like, you have to make the most of the chances you get because you might not get back here. You might never get back here. Like, that's what I want to emphasize in particular. You might never get back here ever again. And you can't rely on you don't have the luxury of being a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees. You don't have the luxury of knowing you're going to be in the playoffs every year, competing for the division every year. You're not like the Mets. You're not like the Phillies or the Braves or the Dodgers or the Yankees. You're not like a lot of those teams like the Astros that are almost always guaranteed to be here. You're never guaranteed anything in baseball. So you have to make the most of your chances. And the Mets didn't. At the end of the day, they let it slip. Opportunity that they had to make something special, you let it slip, and the opportunity is now gone. That's why I always had a great appreciation for this symbol and what it represents to me. It's that when we get the opportunity to do something special, we do it. 2010 was that. 2012 was that. 2014 was that. Because at the end of the day, that's why I always love my team. Because whenever we've had the chance to do something incredible, except once, we have always capitalized on that opportunity. You can't let it slip. You can't let opportunities get away from you. Because the day you do, it'll be it. Like, I mean, they had 11 hits last night, some amount as the Dodgers. I mean, they had 11 hits last night, same amount as the Dodgers. Difference was runners in scoring position. Yeah, so crucial. I mean, chances, missed opportunities. Like, it's going to haunt Francisco Lindor. It's going to haunt Francisco Alvarez. It's going to haunt Brandon Nimmo. It's going to haunt Mark Vientos. Not in a curse way, but it's going to haunt them to a point where they wonder, like, what could have been. And I'm hoping, I really mean this, I'm hoping that the Mets take the opportunity they had this year that Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez, and all the younger players like Ronald Acuna Jr., David Peterson, I hope all of these guys take what they got this year and use it for the future. Use it in a way that is productive to going up, to go back. Yeah, Lindor had some crucial moments last night and failed. Yeah. That's the thing. It's going to be like, I'm hoping that not Iglesias, but Vientos, that Francisco Alvarez, that Ronald Acuna Jr., not Ronald Acuna Jr., Luis Angel Acuna, and all these other guys. I hope that the younger players on this team in particular remember this and think like, we had chances and we let it slip. We cannot do that again. We have to get back there and prove ourselves to the world. You can't let it go. You can't let it go. Like, opportunity is crucial. That's what I've always said, because the wild card and the division series winners can change literally year to year. I don't think anybody thought the Phillies were going to win this year because of the Braves. A lot of people didn't expect the Mariners to actually do it this year, and they didn't because the Astros came back. No one expected like the Cleveland Guardians to be there. A lot of people had different opinions. No one expected, everyone expected the Dodgers, that's clear. No one expected the Padres after last year to have such a bizarre year. And the Padres last year were really bad, but they realized, we got to do better, and came back and tried to make it to the playoffs and even go back to the World Series. And what I'm trying to say specifically from all of this is that you don't know how the regular season is going to go, and you have to capitalize on the chances that you get, because you can't say to yourself, we'll do better next year, because you're never guaranteed anything in this game. That's one thing that is not guaranteed, and it's something I appreciate a little bit about baseball. With basketball, you can have a core locked up for years, and the consistency and the way games are played, you can have chances year after year. With football, it's the same thing. With soccer, it can be the same thing over in the Premier League, over in in Spain. With baseball, you don't get these chances often. You don't get these chances often. You have no guarantee. Listen, I once heard this funny quote from Manny Ramirez when he was with the Boston Red Sox. He said, this is when they were facing the Indians, the then Indians in the NLCS. Obviously, I'm going to call them the Guardians. But so when they were facing the Guardians and they were down 3-1 in the ALCS in Boston, he was like, listen, we have a great team, we're down 3-1. If we lose, it's not a big deal. There's always next year. And that's the thing. A lot of teams don't have the luxury of being the Boston Red Sox or the New York Yankees or the Philadelphia Phillies or the Los Angeles Dodgers or other teams like the Braves, who have a really good team constantly, or the Astros, who have a really good team constantly. You don't have that luxury. A lot of teams don't have that luxury. We never had that luxury as a Giants team. We always made it, but we capitalized on it. So that's why I'm emphasizing right now, as a fan of a team that's learned how to capitalize, you have to capitalize on the moments that you get, because you can't always get them. You're not guaranteed a damn thing in this game. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Morkatna, thank you for this. The predictions were hilariously wrong. This is the note, and I believe, hold on, I'm trying to focus it. Nope, that's not it. I'm trying to yeah, this was the prediction. It's dead wrong, as you can clearly see. Yeah. I'm never doing predictions again, man. I'm gun shy now. I'm never doing predictions again. Ever. Does anyone have a lighter? Because I'm burning this. This is not yeah, I'm getting tired of this. I'm going to keep this just so I can remember all the idiocy that's happened. But yeah. 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 But yeah, what was I saying about the Mets? Opportunity like this is never going to come at you again like this. You had a magical year, and you turned a bunch of cynical, jaded, and sad Mets fans into believers again. You turn them into believers again. You know how difficult that is to do? Mets fans are some of the most broken fans in baseball because they've been disappointed so often. It's like Arsenal fans over in the Premier League. What I'm trying to say is, yeah. What do you think the Warriors would do if Farhan was the president, was the GM? Oh my God. Like, Steph would get traded. First things first, Steph's going to get traded. What else? I mean, I don't like how Dunleavy's been doing either. Ever since Bob Myers left, I've been pissed because this offseason was actually pretty good, but we got some good players like Buddy Hield, Melton, and a couple other guys that are good. I'm wondering how much that'll work though. And yeah, we'd be horrible. If Farhan was the GM of this team, like we would literally would have never won a single damn, like we would never would have been over 500. Ever. We'd be stuck in an endless lottery. I mean, yeah. But yeah. Yeah, we'd be bad. We'd be so bad. But what I'm trying to say to Mets fans is two things. You should be proud of yourselves and your team. Like, you guys really, really played great. Yeah, we did get this tall guy. I can't remember his name. Oh man, what's the kid's name? He's a big dude though. I think he's from Boston College. I can't remember his name, but Quentin Post. Big man, Quentin Post. I mean, yeah, big dude. Big dude. Yeah, he's like 7 foot. I'm gonna see how he turns out. How much do the Mets hate Tommy Edman right now? Burn them all. Yeah, Tommy Edman. I know for a fact Tommy Edman is about to be signed by the Atlanta Braves or the Philadelphia Phillies because he's a Met killer. He is a Met killer. I've never man, he torched them. He made them look so bad, and it's not even funny. Like, yeah, that was just bad. He was killing them all series long. But I think I want to kind of end my Mets rant, and then I think I want to go on to the Guardians and say this. Like, you should be proud of your season. You turned a bunch of cynical, jaded, sad Mets fans into believers again. That's so difficult to do after all of the heartbreak that they've experienced. You actually got them to believe again. And that shows like grit on itself. But here comes the second part. When you talk about this season to your friends when you're older, when you're sitting around at a bar or at the retirement home or whatever, you're going to be thinking to yourself, what if we could have done it? What if we could have done it? Like, what if things had changed? What if we had a couple of moments during those games where we got turned out? Like, that's what you're going to be thinking about. Like, that's all. Excellent first season for Vogt. He did have quite the short leash for the Stars, though, in the postseason. Still an incredible manager. Yeah, Stephen Vogt did a great job. For a first season with the Guardians, he turned them around. I think what I talked about with the Guardians did happen. Their offense stagnated. They had so many bad moments on offense, it wasn't good enough. Their pitching fell apart at the wrong moments against Soto. It felt like such a long series, even though it was 5 games, because the games were this close part of the time. Like, again, with the Guardians, you don't know what's going to happen next year because the ALCS, but the AL Central is very contested. Not because all the teams are great, but a lot of the teams are really bad. That was what happened last year. There were so many bad teams that the Twins ended up getting in, despite the fact that they were really mediocre, even though they had good players. Kansas City did well this year. But I'm saying this to the Guardians as well. Like, you really should have been able to capitalize on your chances. Stephen Kwan was playing out of his damn gourd. That guy played so well in comparison to everybody else on your team. He killed it. And nobody else showed up to help him. Like, Stephen Kwan, I really want to emphasize, if that dude, if they had won that series, Stephen Kwan wins ALCS MVP. That dude literally did everything he could to give them a chance to win, and they didn't. Like, Steven Kwan, nothing but credit to you, man. Like, you deserve all of the credit. You deserve an extension and everything else. You deserve credit. Great player by every sense of the word. Just too bad, in my opinion. Just too bad. Like, and then Jose Ramirez. What happened, dude? David Fry, Kyle Manzardo played well, but Lane Thomas only played Josh Naylor didn't play great either. John Kinsey Noel only had one really good hit this postseason. Bo Naylor, Andres Jimenez only played okay. Brian Rocchio, the 9-hole hitter, played better than a lot of the guys in the middle of their lineup. Yeah, Kwan went 16 for 42. Dude, that guy is so good. I want to be clear. He's probably one of the best. He's probably the best pure hitter in baseball. Like, he literally does everything so well. He makes contact so well. He hits for average well. He gets on base. He can create. He can hit the ball hard when he wants to. He just doesn't. He's a great player in every sense of the word. Ichiro Suzuki would be proud of this dude. And he probably is. But, like, again, but this is me being Asian too. So it's like, you really, like, Guardians, I have a different standard for you than the Mets because you came into the postseason and played great the entire regular season. Again, regular season doesn't matter in the postseason, but I thought after you beat Tarek Skubal in that 5th game, I was like, okay, maybe things are going to go your way. Come on. Like, seriously, you just let it get away from you. Steven Kwan played great, and you couldn't help him. Some of the pitchers played fantastically. Class A was really shaky, though. But yeah, his favorite player was Ichiro Nishikawa. I'd love to sign him or trade for him, but again, we have no one to trade. I mean, he is up for arbitration in a few years. Give me a second. Steven Kwan. He will be up for arbitration in 2025. And he will be a free agent in 2028. So that's going to be a while before we could even think about free agenting the guy. But I don't think we're going to be able to trade for him, like you said, because we don't have the capital to do it. Both Naylor stunk in the playoffs. Josh Naylor, I love Josh Naylor. I want to be clear. Josh Naylor is a great player. He talks trash, but he's also got the ability to back it up. He's a great player. But, dude, you didn't hit a damn thing. Bo Naylor, you couldn't block the ball for anything. And the base run, you let the Yankees run circles around you, even though the Yankees are one of the worst base running teams in all of baseball. You let that happen, Bo Naylor. I'm sorry. You didn't do good enough either. And most of all, I want to talk about one player. Jose Ramirez, what the hell happened, dude? What happened, Jose? What happened? You had been playing super well the entire season. You're one of the most underrated players in baseball. You're a great postseason performer. And honestly, I give you all the credit in the world, man. I like him. I like him how he plays. I love how he steals bases. Josh didn't hit a single home run, went .225. That's really bad. But to get back to the Jose Ramirez thing, it's like you have the whole world rooting for you. They want you to beat the Yankees because the Yankees can be annoying for a lot of people. Let me just, Jose Ramirez. I really want to emphasize this. Jose Ramirez. Let's just go look at his postseason numbers. Previously, in the postseason, he had done super well in the ALDS in 2022 and in 2016. A lot, especially when they were playing against Chicago and when they were playing against Boston. Jose, what happened, dude? What happened? J-Ram hit 200 in the postseason. Thank you, Johnny. And 7 for 35. That's not like on any other day, he's hitting like 12 for 35. Dude, you're letting it get away from you, Jose. Ramirez, you got to understand, moments like this don't always come. You don't always get chances like this. J-Ram, I don't know what the heck happened to you, dude. Like, you are a fantastic player and one of the best in the world. I give you all the credit in the world. I'd be getting on Aaron Judge right now instead if he had lost the series. But, Jose, I don't care what any Cleveland fan says about his performance. He didn't play good enough. He didn't steal enough bases. He didn't hit well enough. Not a lot of only one home run, if I'm not mistaken, or two. He needed to play so much better. Like, there is one constant on every single team that's lost in the playoffs. There has just been so many teams that had one or two players play absolutely fantastic, and then nobody else showed up. Like that annoys me as a Giants fan because, again, I have a certain standard for teams because, again, I've watched my team win in the postseason like that. But hold on, give me a second. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that you really, like, that is the common theme for every single postseason team that had expectations but lost. You had that one player that played out of his damn mind and you let him down. You let him down. There was also that one player that didn't play great that has a standard put upon him. Dylan Cease for the Padres. Matt Strahm in the bullpen for the Phillies. Not to mention the Brew Crew losing at the very end because of their bullpen. Not to mention the Detroit Tigers losing because of Tarek Skubal. Then again, I'm not going to give the Tigers crap because they're playing with house money, and I'm not going to give them crap in that regard. But that is the one common theme, the two common themes for every losing team. You have one player or one factor of the team that just loses it, even though they're supposed to play better. And you have that one player that plays out of his damn mind and they fail him. Bryce Harper, Stephen Kwan, Zach Wheeler, guys like Nick Castellanos, guys like David Fry, other players on other players like Tarek Skubal. Skubal is a bit iffy, though, because he did have that bad last game. But I'm being serious when I say you have to help your stars. This isn't like basketball. This isn't like basketball where you can give the ball to Steph and say, go work, go take the shots. This is on you. It's not like that. You know? Noel had that one home run and did absolutely nothing else. Exactly. Opportunity is squandered, and the opportunity to play incredibly well is squandered. Like, you are letting that is the one thing, because in other sports like basketball, football, and other sports, like, you can blame the star player because the star player is given the ball and supposed to do it, is supposed to be the man, supposed to win the game. With baseball, you can't always do that. So that's why I can't blame Bryce Harper for losing. I can't blame Zach Wheeler for losing because he played great. I can't blame Stephen Kwan for losing because he can't take every at bat. I can't blame other players on other teams. Let me just get the bracket. I can't blame, Tatis. Okay, to be fair with the Mets and the Padres, a lot of their guys melted down. And so did the Kansas City Royals. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that is the one constant on every team. You have that one guy who plays out of his mind better than everybody else in the world and just gets let down by his teammates. You can't expect to hit solo home runs and win every game. You can't expect a guy to carry you on their back. This is why I always decree the idea in baseball that we need to be looking at stars rather than teams. That's part of the reason why I didn't want this World Series to happen, because it's just going to be about the stars. It's never going to be about the merits of the Yankees or the merits of the Dodgers. It's just going to be about Shohei and Judge. it can't always be about the stars in these situations because the stars aren't going up to bat every single time. You have to rely on the players that can hit the ball to hit the ball. And you didn't. You let opportunity get away from you. Like, I want to emphasize that to the Guardians and the Mets. You let opportunity get away from you. The Mets are a little different. The Guardians, I have higher standards for. Man. I think that should be my next episode. Just talking about all of the different teams that got eliminated and how they disappointed. That's going to be my next episode. I know this episode has done that a lot, this show, but I want to go into depth about a lot of the players and a lot of the teams that really it just drop the ball. Like the Phillies, the Padres, and all these other teams. I want to talk about those teams. But yeah, just like I say this, I've said this repeatedly today. Nothing's guaranteed. And you're never going to get it. And if you don't do what you do, you're never going to get back here. So I say this to everybody again and again and again and again. Like, watch baseball for the teams, not the stars. Because the stars can't do everything. I mean, yeah. Man, just like... That's what I say to every single baseball fan. Don't just watch this game. Yeah. Exactly, Carter. Kwan and Rocchio were the most productive for Cleveland this postseason, and neither of them are home run hitters. Cannot rely on the long ball in the playoffs. Exactly. That's what killed the Phillies last year. They tried to hit solo home runs every single time because a consistent theme I have seen on every single team that's lost this postseason, they can't hit with runners in scoring position. Detroit didn't. Cleveland didn't. The Mets definitely didn't. The Padres for sure didn't. They didn't even get on base. The Royals didn't either. Like, that will always be the thing that I emphasize to everybody in baseball. Like, if you can't capitalize on the opportunities that you're given. And that's a metaphor for the whole capitalizing on opportunities thing that I talk about. You don't get other chances to do that again. Like, you cannot hit solo home runs and expect to win much. That's why the postseason isn't just about the long ball. You got to be able to keep your head in the game and win in a big way. You got to hit with runners on base. That's the biggest thing in the postseason. You can win by 1-0. I literally saw that happen with Tim Lincecum versus the Braves. You can literally have 1-1. Even the Dodgers, who are loaded with sluggers, they won by situational hitting. Exactly. They didn't even have to do much. If you actually look at their hitters with runners in scoring position, let's just take a look at what they've done. I want to be clear with runners in scoring position for the Dodgers. Like, let's just take a look at how they've done with runners in scoring position. Let's just take a look because they hit 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position in the first game. That's a big one. In the second game that they won, in the game that they won second, they hit 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. That's big. All right. 10 and then on another game, they hit 6 for 15 with runners in scoring position. The constant that we see here, they aren't just below it. They did blow the other team. They did blow the Mets out, but they're hitting with runners in scoring position, which is the most important tenet of baseball. You get your guys home. That's all you need to do. You get them home. It's not like every single hitter is Ronald Acuna Jr. that can hit a leadoff home run and get you ahead. You get people home. Like, yeah. Carter, how's it going, man? It's going well, Benji. How you doing? Just mourning everything. But I know you're a Dodgers fan, so I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. But I was just emphasizing to Johnny and Morkatna, like how your team did the one thing that a lot of teams haven't done this postseason, which is hitting with runners in scoring position. You guys hit with runners in scoring position and you won. So that's how it's going, basically. That's what I've been talking about. But yeah, that's the thing, Benji. Like, your team did what pretty much every other team in baseball couldn't do this postseason, which is hit with people on base. Yeah, you blow the Mets out, but the other constant that I see to keep yourselves ahead is that you hit with men on base. Like, you got to hit with men on base. Like, and that's what your team did. Like, come on, man. Like, that will be, I want to be clear about that in particular. The reason why teams lose in the postseason is almost always because of runners in scoring position. Not just because of pitcher blowups or the bullpen exploding and making mistakes. It's almost always because a team can't hit when it matters. Did it to the Phillies last year. It did it to a lot of other teams this year. Like the Padres as well, like the Mets, obviously. Other teams like the Brewers, teams like the Tigers and the Guardians, like, runners in scoring position is the most important stat in baseball, in my opinion. Because if you're hitting 300 with runners in scoring position, and when your average hitting just in general is just 250, then that's great. I don't care about the average amount of times you hit. If you're hitting better than anybody else with runners in scoring position, like, I'll give you a damn medal. Just come on. You just got to play better. Like, but that is what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like, I'm going to go over every single team and how they failed and why they failed. Because I want to emphasize the most important thing about baseball. Every single team that's made it to the postseason in the last few years, some don't make it back the next year. Teams don't have the affordability of being the Dodgers. They don't get to be the Red Sox. They don't get to be the Yankees. They don't get to be teams like, I don't know, you don't get, like, what I'm basically trying to say is to all of these teams, like, you had chances to win and you failed. Like, yeah. All right. See you, Johnny. Good seeing you, man. Yep. See you, Johnny. All right. We'll see you later. But yeah. But basically what I'm trying to emphasize, Benji, was like something along the lines of not every team can be the Dodgers. Not every team can be the Yankees. Not every team can be the Red Sox. Not every team can be like the Phillies or the Braves. You don't get chances every single year. I do want to emphasize the Phillies' failures in particular this year, but a lot of these teams that made the playoffs this year didn't make it last year. So what I'm going to try and say basically is, like, especially to the smaller teams that made it this year and had opportunity to win, is that you failed. You had an opportunity to do something special and you failed. You also, like the Houston Astros as well. Like, Houston and Philly are the biggest disappointments of, like, contending teams, in my opinion. The Astros, despite having a talented team that has, like, you know, that has a certain ability to play the way they do, they failed in particular. The Phillies blew up versus the Mets. I think I want to talk about those teams too, but I also want to talk about, like, how the smaller teams that had an opportunity failed. But yeah, that's that. I think that'll be tomorrow. But if anybody else has anything to bring to the table, I'm here right now. Like, star player for my favorite football team just tore his ACL, even though he hadn't been good to begin with. I honestly don't want to see the 49ers in the playoffs. I don't want to see us in the playoffs. Like, I don't. If we go to the playoffs, we're going to get beat by a better team because we have not been good. But yeah, just looking around baseball right now, like, man, this is going to be an interesting World Series. It's going to be interesting. I'm not going to give it too much credit, but I think it's going to have some intrigue for certain teams, fan bases. But Oof. Hoping I don't get hat hair. Oh my gosh. But yeah. I have contract and age like milk. I mean, he played badly in the first 7 games. Then he got injured with an ACL and an MCL tear. Like, this team right here, this team, I don't want to see it in the playoffs because we're horrible defensively. We're horrible offensively. We're not good enough. And I don't think we can contend with the Lions. We definitely can't contend with a lot of the teams in football. The Kansas City Chiefs didn't even play particularly well yesterday, and they still beat us because they did what they had to do to win. We didn't. But yeah, we're a terrible team. So I'm honestly just looking for moral victories now. That's all. Until this season is over, I'm looking for moral victories and just hoping. Not to mention the Warriors are going to be back, which is going to be fun. But man, terrible time for Bay Area sports, man. We are just struggling in every sense of the word. Like, opportunity, never heard of it. That's the worst part about Bay Area sports right now. A lot of these teams are being disappointed right now, and they're disappointed about missing out on opportunities for greatness. But we're not even having a chance at it. And that's even worse in a lot of ways. Obviously, you get your heart ripped out the other way, but still, it's like, sorry. But yeah. What is that? Man, what the heck happened to Stroman? But yeah, I have like 3 minutes. If anybody has anything else to say or like add, I'm here for anything, any topic really, as long as it's not like going to get me in trouble. Man, like, I say this all the time though, y'all, like, enjoy October as much as you can. Like, I really mean that. Enjoy this next month as much as you can, because baseball's gonna end. We're gonna have the World Series but we're gonna have the World Series, and that's gonna be it for baseball. Not to mention, the NBA is gonna be back. It's gonna be awesome. I love that. We're gonna have the 49ers, or sorry, not the 49ers. We're going to have the NFL continuing, and that's going to be cool. The NHL is back as well. Like, this is the month of the year when every single sport in all of the major leagues is overlapping perfectly. If you guys want to watch sports or talk about sports, this is the perfect time of the year to do it. And I can't wait. I honestly cannot wait to see how all that goes. But either way, I'm here for y'all. And I do want to ask this question to you guys, like, just to leave this thing off. Is Robinson Cano a Hall of Famer? Is Robinson Cano a Hall of Famer? Because that dude, I'm looking at his stats right now, 8 All-Stars, a World Series, a Gold Glover, a Silver Slugger 5 times. He has 2,639 hits. He has the most home runs of second baseman with 335. His career average is great. OBP and slugging percentage for his career are great. Great OPS. Like, I asked you guys this because I just want you guys to think about this and bring me back your thoughts next show. Like, is Robinson Cano a Hall of Famer? Because I think he might be. He might want to be in the ballot in the next few years. I think so. But then again, he's not officially retired from baseball. But thank you guys. I appreciate everything. Thanks for coming around. Thank you to Benji. Thank you to Johnny. Thank you to everybody that came around for the show and just said some hellos, talked about sports. But I appreciate you guys and the love you show me, and Glenn and Eric and Will B, all these guys. So I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate it, y'all. And I hope I can see Cano can be a Hall of Famer after Jeff Kent. Yeah, Jeff Kent deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I really think so. But anyway, y'all, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming to the show, and see ya.
You've been watching the Northern California Sports and Entertainment Network, a Northern Lights Entertainment broadcasting station.